Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Always Almost There, day after show live. We're back here in our natural virtual setting after an incredible live event in St. Louis yesterday. Neil, did it feel weird to be watching the pod?
Watching the pod from the live event? No, I had lots of feedback in the moment. There were moments where I felt like it was important that I speak up and say things, maybe stop some things from happening, maybe encourage some other things to happen. And I wasn't given the opportunity to do that. So that part was hard. But I think you did a great job. I think Sim did a great job.
He did.
Brought the handsomeness level of AAT up, about tenfold just by being there in my absence. So kudos to him. He did a killer job, and we're so lucky to have had him. We're lucky to have the back of big hat guy Lucas Anderton's head walking across the screen right now. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches here on AAT Pod. We got all the best people.
It's true. It's true. We had Haps several times last week. Like it's all happening.
Yeah, a spicy.
I do want to give
too. Semi-nude Haps.
Yes. God. I do just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everybody who came to the pod in person yesterday. It was really cool getting to do it with an audience for the first time. And Neil, I hope you and I can, I want to do this again in the future. I think it's hard to do logistically because not every venue has a brewery with an area to do something like this right next door, like St. Louis does. But it was really cool to do it in front of some people. So thanks to everyone. And, shout out to Nugs as well. For helping organize that.
Yeah, shout out to Nugs. Let's talk about Nugs for a second, because I know you aren't going to bring it up, but the Roku app has changed everything, at least in my house, because we have a bunch of Roku TVs. Streaming never worked directly from my laptop. It just didn't work. But now everything works flawlessly. I forced my whole family to watch in our living room, which I am never allowed to do. But now that there's a Roku app, they have no choice. They cannot stop me. So that was done yesterday. So yeah, that was awesome. And also one more shout out. We should absolutely do the live pod thing. I'm glad that you were able to do it. Shout out to the W10 folks for being involved there also.
Yes.
Fine set of people. Although I have to say this, if we ever do one, I get my own microphone. You don't get to hold the microphone. That's not going to happen. We
didn't have a choice. Four hands only had one mic.
Yeah.
But so each had one. But yes.
But on the topic of segueing into talking about the show and this venue, the really cool thing about these venues in places like Chesterfield, Missouri, of all places, is that there's wide open space. You can do stuff like this. And they have things like a microphone and a PA that they're willing to loan to you to bring in business. Whereas New York City, not going to happen.
Right.
Nobody's going to allow you to do that in New York City, the hugest, most dense city in all the land.
Speaking of New York City,
that is not an option. Yeah.
There's now another show happening in New York City.
Yeah. Right.
On the 23rd, which is interesting, at Racket, 650 capacity venue the week before they're playing Madison Square Garden, or 5 days before. They're playing Madison Square Garden. Pretty crazy that they're doing that. I don't remember how long the ticket request window is open, but you can enter to win tickets. Maybe they're free.
Don't enter.
No, don't enter.
Strongly recommend not entering. Increase my chances, please.
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah. 650 cap in a venue in New York. I mean, shoot, 4 years ago, a 500 cap venue was a really big deal and a hard ticket to get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens here. It's going to be bananas.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I now have a lot of extra travel happening in the last week of June. But, got to do it. Got to make it happen. Well, let's talk about last night in St. Louis, shall we?
Yeah.
It was a very good show. As I said in my review, they played to the crowd. I mentioned on the pod yesterday, there's a lot of chomping. There was less chomping last night because they played the party show, which, the chompers like. People love that shit.
I mean, you're saying this like it's fact, and I don't know if party show is the right word for last night, and we're going to disagree on that throughout the course of this podcast. Fair. And that's okay that we disagree. I think people have come to expect that. But my assessment of the show is that it's a rarity show, not a party show. and it was designed for folks who are on tour willing to hit a spot that is kind of out of the way and difficult to get to.
Is St. Louis out of the way?
I mean, it's
2 nights.
St. Louis, Missouri, dude.
Yeah, but it's 2 nights.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people skip this one. It's low cap venue.
That's fair.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we get out. So let's dive into the show here.
Yeah.
3-pack. I think this is a 3-pack now. Iguana Song, Flow Down, Honeybee. I mean, Iguana gets better every time they play it. It also gets longer every time they play it.
Right.
And it's unbelievable. And I hope it keeps getting longer. It's just such a good song. Like,
I've said it now a couple times on the pod. It enhances every show that it's in. It instantly makes the show better.
Yeah. Love this as an opener too. This is the first time. Yeah. I think every play has it gotten earlier in the first set too.
Yeah, I think they just they started making this set list, and Peter was like, "Guys, I don't really feel like playing keys too much tonight. Let's just go, and I'm going to play a lot of guitar." And they're like, "Sure, Iguana, let's go." And then it all kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I really like, so the kind of the way they're structuring it is they do like short turns through the first few segments of the jam. And then like the last one, is where they really extend things. And I think they're really developing that, like, the playing with dynamics that they've been doing all tour. And so the way that they bring it way down and then just ramp up to the ending. So good. Flow Down. This is a good flow down. You get some weird synth stuff happening in there. A little bit of dissonance, not too long of an intro. This is kind of the ideal flow down. A little bit of an interesting jam that doesn't go on for more than a few minutes.
I could get excited about this flow down intro. It's all that flow down ever should have been, really. It's good stuff. And yeah, you give Peter an opportunity to do a lot of synthy things. You give Rick an opportunity to bend down and twist some knobs. And when that happens, good things result.
Yes,
it is always the case.
That Roland Juno had some good stuff last night. We'll talk about what he did on that synthesizer and the thatch a little bit later. But he's really kind of figuring out what that thing can do. And so I'm a big fan. And then Honeybee, 366 days since the last Honeybee.
Not
long enough. But 82 shows, Coach on the Rain Stick. And honestly, like we shit on Honeybee a fair amount on this podcast. You could do a lot worse. The outro is great.
It's a pretty good song. It's a pretty good song. I'll say this. If played as a rarity there, I think what hurt Honeybee is for a stretch, it got played like way too much.
A lot. And it was also an encore a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is kind of tough. But it's one of the first songs that feels like a Peter and Rick song, not just a Peter song, even though everybody insists it's just a Peter song. It feels like done together in the way that Iguana Song actually feels like it's done in concert with Rick or Feel It Now and things like that. But I don't dislike this song. I think having it be a rarity like this and popping up is pretty cool. There's like a nostalgia factor. I think of like 2020 and like drive-in shows when I think of Honeybee. And like that vibe is actually a cool vibe to like recall.
2021 was the heyday of Honeybee.
Yeah. So no hating on Honeybee here. I think it actually does okay in this set.
I mean, and if they want to play it once a year, then by all means.
Hey, and then you just dive right into the covers.
Well, you get 2 in a row. 2 really good covers. This Caution is sick.
Yes.
Kind of the Green River treatment of a cover that doesn't usually jam, getting a not totally out. Now, the Green River is better than this, but not totally outside like the box and not a playlist jam. This is like 11 minutes or so. Really cool 2 guitar stuff. And just amazing anchoring by Cotter and Trevor while Peter and Rick are in La La Land, on their effects, making all sorts of weird noises. But yeah, Trevor just doing Trevor things.
Doing Trevor things all night long, taking bass lines that you're familiar with and twisting them up just a little bit to make it a little more exciting. And the creativity was there. Sometimes, you just pick up an instrument and different notes come out. And I think he was kind of feeling that last night where it's just like, I could play it like this, or I'm just going to do something a little bit different. And I think throughout the show, you got something like that. And he's been kind of on that vibe for a while now.
Yeah.
Like he's just playing inspired. At least that's what it sounds like to me. Mm-hmm. And really noticed it in the hot tea. I mean, wow! But we'll get to that. But
we'll get to that. But yeah, this caution is great. Definitely going to be listening to this a lot. And Ate Up All the Cake, always a treat to see. First one of the year. This feel a little faster than normal to you? Because
I hadn't really thought about it.
It felt like it in the moment. I think they did it. This felt like one where they click tracked it to a higher tempo than they normally play it to. I feel like you can kind of tell those. Like Rick is usually tapping his foot very steadily when they're playing like a slower song to a click. But I really like this faster tempo. I think, I love this cover. And I think
the recorded version is a decently high tempo.
Okay,
higher than what they typically play it.
As. I'm thinking of Goose versions.
Yes. So maybe closer, more true to the original. I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you, because I don't go back and listen to versions of Ate Up All the Cake. Well, I do love the song and I do love Bon Iver. Generally, when I'm picking through shows, I'm going back and listening to the jams. And this one, it doesn't necessarily do the jamming thing.
Yeah, but interesting to see 2 covers in a row as well. You don't get that a lot.
Yeah, and like 2 deep cut covers too.
Yeah,
like exactly. I feel like they save Caution for special occasions. They certainly save Ate Up All the Cake for special occasions. So
and those were both not played since the end of October. A little while. So
yeah.
There we go. And then first set comes to a close. Yeti, Everything Must Go. Feels refreshing to get a full Yeti, without the pump up kicks or what have you there. Even though we had one earlier this year that was a proper Yeti, but this was great. Peter doing a little bopping. But again, this is where the party vibe comes in, right? Like nobody's really talking during Yeti because everyone's dancing and the funk is happening. And then Everything Must Go to close the set. We keep talking about, or you keep talking about, like they're going to play the singles and they're going to play the hits from the album. This is the second Everything Must Go of the tour, and Give It Time hasn't been played since Bend.
8 shows.
Where the hell is Give It Time?
I don't know. It's destroying my fantasy. Maybe word got out that we were expecting them to play Give It Time a whole bunch of times. Well, now it's pretty obvious. It's not going to be played tonight. It's going to be saved and played at Bonnaroo, and that's fine. And maybe they looked ahead and they said, we just can't play it. It's just that
play it on Fantasy tonight. They're going to play it tonight now.
Yeah, I know. I've just completely screwed myself. I'm not playing it on Fantasy tonight. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it seems to me that they're holding out on this one till Bonnaroo, and then we go back into the every third show rotation. I don't see how they could have gotten sick of the song yet. They've really only played it a dozen times ever.
It's more than that. Look here.
I wonder what the number is.
Give It Time. 19 times they've played
19. Okay, so 7 more than I had guessed. But in any case, yeah, I think they hold off on it. I think it goes back into the regular rotation. I think it just a bunch of weird circumstances have popped up, and they decided not to play it. Like they didn't want to play it in Colorado because Ryan Storm said they can't repeat songs in Colorado. They were holding off on Thatch for as long as they could because they don't want to repeat songs from the previous run in a city, but they did play that last night too. So only those 2 extremely notable circumstances there, or that one extremely notable circumstance. But
this is a very solid Everything Must Go. While we're getting back on topic here, aside from the re-entry,
the re-entry was awful. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. Peter was playing something, Rick was playing something, and they were looking at each other like
Rick was ready to go back into the ending. And
Peter did not want to.
The rest of the band quite realized that, and I think Peter took a little bit longer than Cotter and Trevor to realize that they were going back into the song. But there we go. Thank you, Dylan, for always having the exact musical theory knowledge necessary. Ate Up All the Cake tempo last night approximately 88 BPM. The last time it was played at 80.
All right, Dylan. So
faster.
While Dylan, we're getting stats here, what is the recorded Bon Iver version? What is the BPM on that? I bet you it's faster than
check,
88.
Please, thank you.
Please, if you don't mind.
But so the Everything Must Go. This is I think the best jam of the night here. You get just that communicative jamming style that they've been so excelling at this tour. When it pops up and just everybody listening. And we say this, we're like broken records at this point. Trevor makes this. You know, everyone else can be doing the stuff, and Cotter can be doing that like fluid beat, and Rick and Peter all over. But like without Trevor also being such an active participant, this isn't nearly as good as it ends up being. So yeah, this jam is pretty great, and hits a really nice peak to close out the set.
Yeah, I think that this is funny because like I'm gonna say the thing that like you would have expected you to say, and then you just said the thing that I would have been expected to say. But the thing about Everything Must Go right now is that I just would expect it to do more. I want it to be more of a jam vehicle. It
100%.
Seems like it was heading in that direction, or had been in that territory for a while. And then right about Mexico, when the album came out, they were like, we're not going to do it like that anymore. And that part has me sad, especially since we got 2 excellent versions in February.
More than excellent.
Yeah,
like, I mean, spectacular versions in February. Yeah, I totally agree. And I also not the biggest fan of like the backing track stuff that they're still doing with it. I think the song was really good live with more of the stripped down arrangement, where like the only really quote unquote backing track thing was like Peter's synth drone that was happening the whole song. You don't need the synth string sample. You don't need like the E drums in the background. And I get that they want to do that for the album, but I said after Mexico, I was like, I'm hoping that was just like a one-time thing. The album came out, we're going to do that. And so I don't know. They also play around with song arrangements a lot, so I don't think this is going to be the be-all end-all for Everything Must Go arrangements, because this song has also changed a lot. But I hope that eventually they go back to the previous arrangement.
So the arrangement has nothing to do with their ability to jam it or their desire to jam it.
Correct. But I think it's part of it though, because it's like the album, the title track, and they're doing it based on the album.
I mean, they still dropped a 17 and change minute version last night.
But yeah, I mean, they're hitting the jam differently as well. Like they're starting out with more of like a full force, quick little peak, and then going into the, more improvisational territory. So.
You just hate the Postal Service is the thing. It's straight up Postal Service vibes. But in any case, not like the United States Postal Service.
I understand that you meant the Postal Service. Yeah. Any more thoughts on this?
On Everything Must Go? No, man. We should bring up Dylan came back with 82 BPM. Thanks for the quick research there. That was dead wrong. Dead wrong. That's the important part about that, Ryan.
Yeah, the best part about that is that Neil was wrong. So thanks, Dylan.
Yeah.
All right. Second set. Again, my theory of they're not playing songs that they played at the same venue last year is incorrect, because they also opened the second set on night 2 with Thatch last year in St. Louis. This one
true.
You get.
This podcast is more passive aggressive than I thought, and it took Brian Brinkman to point that out, which is great. Sorry, go ahead.
You didn't realize that we were a passive aggressive podcast?
No, I mean, like our whole we're next level today, but
this is our whole shtick. Yeah. But yeah, this is a really good Thatch. A lot of fun and just great, synth work from Peter, as I mentioned earlier. We kind of saw that like very percussive, minimalist synth tone in the Masonic Dustin Hoffman. So that comes back here. I really like the way it sounds when he was doubling it with the clav early on in the jam. And it feels like they're still, trying to work out, like after Bend, the huge 27-minute Thatch. And I think they're still trying to do something different with it than just like straight ahead funk groove. And I think Cotter is varying kind of how he approaches the jam a little more and kind of loosening it up a little bit, I think. But, really great energy in this one, really great peak. And I like, kind of how Peter has that very tight synth sound at the beginning of the jam. And then as it goes on, he like gives it more body and, kind of has more effect, so to speak, more of like an 80s vibe towards the end.
I mean, that's what I got. I got just like, this is how one jams as a yacht rock band. And that's the first thing I thought of when I heard it. So I didn't listen to it last night. I listened to it this morning. I shut it off a set break. But I mean, I guess that's all I really have to say. Peter has this amazing ability to make even the most cheesy sounding things sound not cheesy.
Except for the Portland Jive Lee, Neil.
Oh man, that one really pissed me off. But no, this one, this is really, really good. And in fact, I'm kind of excited about this Thatch. This is like a re-listenable Thatch in a level that is hard to explain, in a way that's hard to explain, meaning that this is not like a jam of the year thing, and it's not the craziest improv they've ever done, but this might be, in terms of just like synth soloing, like one of my favorite things that Peter has done. It's just so vibey. It's great. And, sometimes it doesn't have to be total just melt your face improv. Sometimes it's just a nice solo and you just got to dig it. And I think Peter really elevated here for this and kind of took this jam and put it on his back and said, I'm going to do this the way that I can do it. And I think it sounded sick. And I love the fact that they just turned Thatch on its head. They're straight ahead funk jam vehicle, or they're getting into total outer space and just kind of melt your face jam vehicle. And then we just went straight yacht rock for 17 minutes. I mean, that's pretty dope.
Also of note, that was Thatch number 50 last night. The 50th time they've played it.
Wow.
And also my 29th time seeing. So.
That's gross. That's
not
right.
My two most seen songs, I've seen 30 Dripfields and 29 Thatches.
I have seen I've seen a few Goose shows. I've seen far fewer than you, but I think I've seen maybe like 50-ish Goose shows, and I've seen at least 75 Flowdowns and about 64 Hot Teas.
I was gonna say that's the one. That's the one. All right, so from there we get Knights in White Satin, Jeff Engborg. Knights coming back for the first time in the Cotter era. 122 shows, last played at the Fox Oakland, September 26, 2023. That's a good show. Check out the Yeti. Good Dripfields from that show too. But Knights in White Satin, great cool down after the Thatch. Thatch unfinished as well, which is interesting. I think we were talking about this in a group chat earlier. Like, what is the purpose of leaving a jam like that unfinished? Because very easily could have hit the ending the way that the jam was. And I think it's just, what I've been talking about for a while. Like, I think they're trying to get out of the mold of we need to finish songs. And we don't need to bring the Thatch ending back to close the second set either. Right. So in my mind, they're like really just being like, yeah, we can let a jam come to an organic end and transition, especially in set two, which, I really like. I've been a big advocate for a long time. But what do you think about that?
It doesn't hit my radar the way it hits your radar and the way it hits Brian's radar. It just washes over me. I don't really think about it. I don't think about unfinished mists. I don't think about unfinished drives. I don't think about unfinished Thatches. It's just a thing that happens. You just kind of move on and, you just do your thing.
That's fair.
And I don't know, it's an ending of a song. I don't feel like I'm kind of left standing at the edge of something, like waiting for resolve on some of these things. I understand Jive's point with the mist and that the ending is just sick. But I don't know, you finish the Thatch, big deal. You don't finish it, yeah. I'm happy just the same.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I have no problem with them walking away. Oh, I mean, unfinished Big Modern, I understand why you have a problem with that. Any opportunity to get more of that vibe is a good thing. But yeah, it doesn't really raise my blood pressure in any way. I don't know.
There we go. And then Engborg. That's when I knew they started Engborg, and I was like, all right, party set. This is where we're going with it.
So you know what you do at that point? Instead of dancing? Saying yes, that's exactly what you do. Yeah,
I very much did.
You should enjoy those moments. Engborg gets played only so often. It is a fucking ripper of a song, and you should absolutely let that wash over you while you're in the moment. You shouldn't say, it's a party show, and then sit there with a scowl on your face.
Well, I didn't. I said, it's a party show, and then proceeded to dance.
Then you proceeded to dance your ass off.
Yeah.
Good. Because it's a sick song.
I don't stand there scowling in a situation like that.
Yeah.
I'm scowling internally, but I'm having a great time because I
turn
Engborg.
Into an OG Wook spinner when it's Engborg. I've only heard it once. But
you did.
I did, and I tend to, as you know.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, you got to rip it up.
Engborg is fantastic. And then Rosewood. I guess we can just Rosewood, Dark Horse, Hot Tea here. I mean, I was not expecting Rosewood to come back so soon, and I hope this means that it's going to be in more regular rotation going forward. Nothing crazy about this version. You know, towards the end, they kind of hit into that similar driving funk zone that was most of the Boise version. And then great segue into Dark Horse. Like really, really fantastic transition. Part of me was hoping with the old arrangements of stuff coming back at Fiddler's and whatnot, I was like, what if they do Thunder? And then they didn't.
They did not. I don't think that's ever going to happen. We have to start a new campaign now.
I've been campaigning about that since 2021.
As have I. Get thousands of fans involved. Speaking of 2021, what a 2021 segment we have here. I mean,
Rosewood Dark Horse tea.
Rosewood Dark Horse hot tea. It doesn't get much more 2021 than that.
That really is. That's summer 2021 in a nutshell.
Yeah. That. In fact, I challenge somebody to see how many times that has been played in that order in a 2021 set list. Maybe once, maybe twice.
But that feels like if you were like they played that at Eau Claire, I would have been like, yeah.
You know, totally. Yeah, they probably did.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have nothing to add. I mean, Rosewood was Rosewood. They can play it whenever, and I will never complain. So I'm not going to complain in this moment. I don't think it really went anywhere insane, and that's okay. It was about 17 minutes, so you do get a little bit of a jam in there.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely worth it. I think Dark Horse is one of those songs that, I don't know, it is a rarity. You are meant to rejoice when it is played. If you've heard a couple Dark Horses, you might be kind of like, I don't really want to stand around this late in the second set, which I feel like kind of happens with the Dark Horse. That kind of screeches the energy to a halt maybe for a moment.
I don't think it screeches the energy to a halt. I think it's just like they've never really known with this arrangement. They've never really known how to do anything kind of different with it. So it's kind of the same 10 minutes every time. And it's a fantastic song. And I know people get really excited about it. And I mean, I was happy to hear it. Always am. But I would like to see, do the Dark Horse Dragonfly thing that they did a couple of times.
That'd be cool.
Back in the day. Do something. I don't know.
Do something different with it. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the knock against it. Although, again, if you're at the show, this is a rarities show, and they will play these periodically throughout the year. You have to accept them for what they are. They're going to kind of slide in these non-traditional songs. Some of them are bangers. Some of them aren't bangers. They're just songs they decided to stop playing. I think Dark Horse sits somewhere in the middle of those two things. But yeah, I mean, those were the songs they chose to play. If they had chosen to do some other ones like Arise, I had a feeling that last night was going to be like a bust out night. So you
usually have good instincts about when those shows are going to happen.
Yeah. So in Fantasy Goose, the alternative Fantasy Goose, the underground Fantasy Goose, which I'm not allowed to speak about, but I'm speaking about right now on the podcast because I've been told that I'm under investigation by said committee. So you can sleuth on the internet and find out who those people are. But I think I played. Oh, I don't even remember now. I played Arise and then something else. It was like a real deep cut. Because I was looking at all of the songs they could have played, and I was like, there's no way they're playing Honeybee. And of course they do. So I don't know. I was feeling it last night. If you want, do you want my second guess of Rarity Show?
Sure.
Fantasy Goose hot takes. So play the rarities when they go up to New Hampshire. I have a sinking feeling there will be some kind of a super deep cut.
A sinking feeling. You're going to be at that show.
I am going to be at that show, but it is a pain in the neck to get from Guilford, New Hampshire down to MSG. So a lot of people are going to skip that show. Bust out show.
Yeah, let's go. Crazy people like us will be there. Will you?
Yeah.
Yes. That's Storm on my nerves. And that will also be happening in Cleveland next week.
Yes.
So get ready. Neil will be filming Storm Tracker.
I've already said I'm only filming Storm Tracker if I get a cool purple logo Nugs t-shirt that says crew on it or staff, one or the other, because I will effectively be working for Nugs at that point if I'm holding the camera. Just saying. Just saying, I want a t-shirt.
Member of the Storm Tracker crew. All right, Hot Tea close the second set, and then Salt encore. I mean, a little extra mustard funk on this tea. You were highlighting Trevor on this.
Trevor was flirting with like the Rapper's Delight bass line in a couple spots in this. Not the typical Hot Tea bass line. It's dope what he's doing. It sounds really sick. I might go back and actually listen to this Hot Tea, which I never do on re-listens anymore, unless there's some kind of significant jam. And yeah, this one is 65-ish hot teas in my life. It's true. But yeah, I really just love displaying on this. Again, sometimes you just kind of pick up an instrument and just different notes come out of you. You know how you're supposed to play the thing, and then you play something else, a little extra curly cue on it. And that's what he was doing last night.
Yep.
Just and then, adding a little,
And then Salt goes past curfew. I don't know what the thing was last night, but they went almost 10 minutes over curfew. So I guess they got permission to get a little leeway. That's what like Salt started, and it was like 11:25, and I figured we were just gonna get like song, peak, and then we got some of the coolest jamming of the night. And I think that like while it's really cool, but similar to like the Fiddler's Empress, like they're digging into this like really like thrashy, dark, thing, but it's not getting explored because they don't have enough time to do that in the encore. So I hope that this kind of jamming happens earlier in the show, going forward, so we can get a little more of it, because this is good stuff.
Tell you what, I'm never going to complain about: a Salt encore in a
yeah.
show.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. I mean, it's good stuff. This is a great place for this song to be played. Although we've proven time and time again, whenever you need to, or we've talked about time and time again, when you need to put an exclamation point on something, some kind of punctuation on something in the show, Salt is the song for it.
Yep.
End of first set, great. End of second set, fantastic. Start the second set, sure. You can do that.
First set.
Yeah.
In Vegas.
It's great everywhere.
Yeah. And, shout out to STL. It's still STL on Spotify, I believe. It wasn't played in St. Louis when it was called STL, but they did last night.
Yes. Spotify, unlike Nugs, will not give in to Goose's impulsive nature on naming songs. So there's
naming that song specifically.
Yeah,
all right. Well, that brings us to the close of St. Louis Night 2. The band is playing in just a couple hours here, back in Eastern time in Indianapolis, 7:30 showtime. If you didn't hear and you're not a Nugs subscriber, you can get 4 months of all access now for $5 a month. Limited time promo with the new rebranding through June 29th. So go get yourself some Nugs and tune in for the rest of the summer tour.
2 Nugs.
This is our it's the link. This is our last headline gig until Tuesday as well, which is interesting. This is the last stream until Tuesday. The Bonnaroo set is being streamed like 2 hours after it happens, or an hour after it happens, something like that, I believe. But
there's no guarantee that it's complete, right? Or is there a guarantee out there they can play the entirety of the set?
I think because it's only a 90-minute set, and then All Good Now on Sunday is not being streamed, unfortunately. So we'll see if someone other than me wants to run a Mixler. And then tour picks up on Tuesday in Wilmington. But tonight is night 3 of 6 days in a row for our man Rick, because they have Indy tonight, Bonnaroo tomorrow, and then he plays the Hudson River Music Festival with Graham Lesh on Saturday.
It's a sweet spot for a show
on Sunday. It looks amazing. If you're in that area, like go see Rick play some Dead Tunes with O'Teal.
One of my best friends from high school lives about 10 minutes away from there, and I was like, if you miss this, I will never forgive you. And he's like, I am actually going to be away. And it's just like, come on. It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful spot for a show.
It's going to be cool, and hopefully Rick is able to get some sleep on his flights or whatever, so he's still alive come Sunday. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow to recap tonight in Indy.
Yes.
It's the obligatory June 12th Indianapolis show. This is the third time in a row that they've played in Indianapolis at this venue on June 12th.
Yeah.
They skipped 2023, but 2022, 2024, and 2025. Hometown show for the Gettys and for Danny.
Is it not Andrew Getty's birthday on the 12th?
No. His birthday was May 8th. I had this discussion the other night. And I was like, yeah, it's Getty's birthday, right? And they're like, no, his birthday's May 8th. And I was just confusing it with this is just a hometown show for him. And they did me and Julio in 2022 because it was like,
wait a second.
He's playing at home.
I think somebody's pulling your chain.
His birthday's May 8th. Remember the
when
caverns?
was Pine Creek?
The caverns.
Pine Creek
was July.
Didn't they do me and Julio there? Oh no,
yeah,
that was
they don't only do it.
Never mind. Yeah. It's the one where they the happy birthday one was the conference. That's right. In any case, you're not going to be at the show tonight, right? Just want to go over a couple things. Okay, so
it's going to be really
folks,
good.
It's going to be a great show tonight. They've gone 0-2 in Indianapolis since 2022.
Hey, whoa. And I would say last year's show is quite a few notches above 2022.
Yeah, 2022. I was at that show. It was bad.
And everybody was so tired after 2 nights at Legend Valley.
Like, I got COVID at that show. Audience, it was brutal. Yeah. Brutal show. But in any case, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, guaranteed absolute burner of a show. I mean, they were obviously setting up set lists. They're trying to go through these next couple of days with some bangers in their back pocket. So bangers tonight, hopefully. And Ryan won't be there to screw up the vibe. So, hey, folks, if you're going to Indianapolis, it's going to be sick. And I will say this, that the venue is awesome. I've been there, and I absolutely love that place. It's they took, like a giant, like a Great Woods, and shrunk it just to the point where it's nice and cozy. And, yeah, so it's great. So enjoy.
All right, and we will see you tomorrow to recap tonight's show in Indy. Oh, that's a cough. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to this episode of Always Almost There, day after show live. Enjoy the show tonight, and we will see you next time. Peace.